Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to a new edition of our show titled Speak of Africa. We thank you very much to all our subscribers. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all our viewers. The numbers keep growing. Thanks to you. So what's the news like today? We are trying to assemble all the news stories involving Africa. Then we'll try to focus on a theme. July 4th is a celebration of America's independence. 249 years ago, America became a republic, a democratic republic, so they say. 1776, that was the year. A few days ago, Americans were celebrating July 4th to mark the 249th anniversary of this independence. America used to be a British colony. They fought British tyranny and they won the American War of Independence. Similarly, most African countries are struggling to be independent. Even though during the 1960s, the colonial forces said they gave independence to African countries, this independence was just flag independence. They retained all the power, economically, socially, and politically. So it was just flag independence, independence in name only. So it was not genuine independence, the way it obtains in the United States of America, where the country is free politically, the country is free socially, the country is free economically. That's the kind of independence we seek in Africa. Today, we complain that, there's a coup contagion all over Africa, whether it's Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Gabon. These coups are not really isolated incidents, the way people in the West portray them to be, which is why we are on this show telling you the truth, the news behind the news. There is logic behind most of the coup d'etats that you see. Our people have been disgruntled. They are just sick and tired of the weaknesses of the so-called democracy. The winner takes it all. They don't like it. So coup d'etats have really been like knee-jerk reactions. Our people yearn for genuine democracy, where each citizen can participate in nation building. But is that what happens? No. In America, we know democracy is a tough system. Even George Washington said, it's a republic if you can keep it. Yes, it's not easy to have a democratic system of government. Even America, after 249 years, is still struggling with the democratic experiment. So far, this experiment has failed in Africa. Many Africans yearn for a United States of Africa. It has never happened because most of the colonial forces are against this realization. But the youth of Africa, they want this to happen. This week also, we see America celebrate its independence in a lot of embassies in African countries. So what's the lesson Africans can take from this? Donald Trump is kicking Africans out, is not allowing Africans to come in. So what can we do? After you look at the news cycle, you'll agree with me that the best solution is for Africans all over the diaspora. Let's return home and build our beautiful Garden of Eden. That's the message. Some of you have been telling me, if Donald Trump doesn't want Africans to come to America, let's stay in Africa and build our Garden of Eden. Because Africa has a lot of resources. Before, they were talking a lot about diamonds and blood diamonds. But what most people are not telling you is blood gold. Blood gold is the fuel that is orchestrating a lot of the deaths you have in Africa today. When you talk about coup d'etats in the Sahel, why are those coup d'etats happening? The story that you are not being told is that there's a conflict, there's a scramble for gold in Africa. And most of these countries in the Sahel, they produce most of the gold you find all over the world, over 37%. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, they produce so much gold. So forget about the other resources such as oil and diamond. So because of the conflicts, we call this blood gold. In the past, people were talking about blood diamonds, but I'm going to introduce you to the term blood gold. Because of gold, they are killing people in Africa in big numbers. When you look at these jihadists, they are making money from gold. And unlike diamonds, they have not been able to create a mechanism to trace the sources of gold from conflict-ridden regions. They did that with diamonds, but with gold, because most countries are involved in it, they don't want to create a mechanism to trace gold from blood areas where there's civil war. People are being killed. So some people say there's a big demand for gold, even in the stock market. Most countries are saying, okay, if other stuff collapsing, so we have our gold. Gold now becomes a storehouse of value. That's what most countries are doing. They are trying to keep and store a lot of gold as a way to back their currencies. That's what is happening. Even on Wall Street, the demand for gold has risen substantially. What people don't realize in public is the gold that they're enjoying is as a result of a lot of people suffering. When you see the way gold miners suffer, because a lot of these countries are building gold refineries, but if you see the way like the artisanal gold mining works, a guy makes less than $10 a week working in gold mine, a very dangerous occupation. But who is profiting? Even though we hear the United Arab Emirates is the gold center of the world. So all the illicit gold that leaves Africa ends up in the United Arab Emirates. That's the information that we've gotten and you're going to see. So we're going to start by talking about gold and its impact on the conflict that is taking place in most of these Sahel countries and other parts of Africa also. Starting with Burkina Faso, a lot of the gold. Ibrahim Traoré is doing a good job with propaganda and trying to mine the gold. The politics is good, he talks it. But what about the jihadist activity? It looks like the jihadists in Burkina Faso are really fighting and taking over a lot of the artisanal gold mining in that country. Because if you look, the jihadists control a big swath of territory in Burkina Faso. As much as Ibrahim Traoré is really talking a lot about sovereignty, economic revolution, he has not been able to dislodge these jihadists. That's a fact. These jihadists are still there. Russia is not really doing a good job helping Burkina Faso to dislodge these jihadists. We are not impressed. And we know a lot of people in the media like to praise Ibrahim Traoré, but let's say the job of dislodging the jihadists is not really winning a lot of hearts because the achievements in the field are very, very minute. So we need to see more work in the gold mining. But at the same time, we need to see Ibrahim Traoré try to push these jihadists away because they are still there. Then what about Congo DRC? Congo DRC is also another country where you have a lot of minerals. People don't talk much about gold, but because of minerals, that's why there is a conflict in Congo DRC in the east. Rwanda has been mining these minerals, and Paul Kagame doesn't want to leave. Now that America has come in, even America coming in, they had to make a first-hand deal with America. Donald Trump is a transactional guy. He says, I'm going to take your minerals, then I'll give you peace. I'm a policeman. I take your minerals, then I'll police your two countries. So there will be no more fighting. You guys can have peace. But at what price? At a very heavy price. Even Paul Kagame is thinking that the peace may not hold. If Congo DRC and his guys play any tricks, he'll be back. He has shown his power by capturing Goma and other big places in Congo DRC. So they know that he's not the refugees. The refugees are really bearing the brunt of this conflict. The way it happens in Africa, the little guy suffers. They say when elephants are fighting, the grass suffers. The little guys are the grass. That's the metaphor we can share with you. Then what about Ghana? In Ghana, we'll remind you of a term which is called galamsey, which is illegal gold mining. It's a serious problem. This is a place where one of the coup d'etats first happened, I think in 1966. Kwame Nkrumah was the president. Osagyefo, he was a guy who believed in the liberation of Africa, genuine independence. He decided to work with other leaders to create the OAU, which has morphed into the African Union. But this dream is really a dream deferred because Africa is not yet free. Africa is not free economically. Africa is not free socially. Africa is not free politically. So even in Ghana, that promise is still hollow because Ghana is not free. Ghana is being manipulated by a lot of foreign forces. And when you look at China, the illegal mining taking place in Ghana, when they talk about Galamsey, it's all done by countries like China. They are the ones. A lot of environmental pollution is taking place, which reminds me of what used to happen in Ogoniland in Nigeria. A lot of areas in Ghana, they are environmentally disastrous because the guys are just digging everywhere just to search for gold. So the scramble for gold is ongoing. Sometimes you see activists showing you water. Drinking water is so bad because of environmental pollution. They hold the bottles yellowish. How can you drink such water? So this becomes an environmental hazard. Then what about Ivory Coast? Well, in Ivory Coast, most of the minerals that people talk about have to do with cocoa. Ivory Coast is probably the biggest exporter of cocoa in Africa. But because of coup d'etats and political conflict, there's tough times. The people are facing tough times. Tidjane Thiam, a very popular opposition candidate, is still fighting to make sure that he can become president. But Alassane Dramane Ouattara doesn't want to leave power, so he wants to stay. So there's a big conflict. How is this going to play out? Well, all of them are fighting for minerals. There was even a time that news spread on social media that Alassane Ouattara was overthrown. People were very joyous. It turned out the news was false. I even called friends in Ivory Coast to find out the truth. And they told me that, no, Alassane Ouattara is still in charge. So the protesters are still doing their protests. So when we look at things, what is going to happen to this former French colony? Well, France is still holding sway in this country. That's what is happening. Okay? Next, we take you to Kenya. Kenya is a country where every week we say democracy used to be the beacon in this part of the world. Kenya was the beacon of democracy. But with the actions of William Ruto, police brutality, injustice, poverty, this known fact, we used to say Kenya is the land of democracy, is no longer the land of democracy. So that has changed. Then now, William Ruto is telling us he's building a church. Ha ha ha. The guy who is building a church is the same guy who is sending police to kill and maim innocent children of God. How can you reconcile these two opposites? That's the drama of life. The guy is saying, even if the devil comes, he's still going to build a church. Who is the devil? He's the devil. So when he's talking about the devil, let him hold a mirror. Let him look at the man in the mirror. The man in the mirror is the devil. So building a church is not going to whitewash his image. His image is negative, very bad. I'm sure even when people compare William Ruto with Uhuru Kenyatta, they realize that Uhuru Kenyatta is a decent guy. You look at the number of protests since William Ruto took over power. A guy who was perceived to be a man of the people, every day is sending police to kill innocent citizens. So which is why he has a very, very bad image. His self-image is terrible, and the people can see it. Next, we take you to La République du Cameroun. Here also, you have a country with a lot of resources, a lot of natural minerals. I know most people talk about oil, but Cameroon has gold and other resources. China and some of these other people are coming in, mining the gold in La République du Cameroun. Unfortunately, the guy who is supposed to be leading this country is asleep at the switch. He's over 92 years old. Last week, we told you most of his close collaborators are jumping ship because Cameroon has become a Titanic. Ibrahim Traoré is talking about Cameroon, and when I listen to him, I wish he can give the message to some Cameroonians in the army to kick Biya out. Issa Chiroma has just left, another big heavyweight in the regime. Bello Buba Maigari has just left. We told you this last week, but this week all the international papers are singing the song. We told you this already, so it's not news. These guys used to be the pillar of this regime. So the whole alliance Biya made with the guys in the north has crumbled. When Ferdinand Gongo went to the north and tried to bribe them to secure their loyalty, we knew it's not going to work, because on the ground, the young people are fed up with the Biya regime. They are fed up, they are fed up, they are fed up. Now, Biya is really feeble, because he's feeble physically and politically. The opposition is winning. So it will take a whole lot of fraud on a massive scale and the collaboration of the military for Biya to win again. Because already the opposition is dead set that Biya cannot be president again. They are seeing through the game. We've been telling you that Cameroon is ruled by Biya's wife and a few cronies. So most people now know this fact. We told you this because you watch our show, you know about it. So is Biya going to play any dirty tricks again? It's not for him to play dirty tricks. It's for his entourage, which is now trying to prop him up, because Biya is finished. Biya is finished. Okay? So when you look at what is happening, Biya is finished. Some of you guys were asking me, oh, Prince, you've not talked a lot about Ambazonia for a while. Yes. We've been telling you that the war in Ambazonia is still going on. A lot of people are dying, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. I keep saying the same thing over and over. So some of you who are even complaining that, oh, you talk a lot about Ambazonia. Now you are telling me I'm not talking about Ambazonia. So when you look at what is happening in Ambazonia, the conflict is still there. Paul Biya's government has chosen to ignore this conflict. So what the guys in Ambazonia are doing, they still maintain their ghost days, okay? Ghost town days. Then they are using artisanal kind of bombs, like homemade bombs, to break into most of the armored cars. Because the military guys, the B, they use these armored cars to ply around those territories in La République du Cameroun. But when they go to Ambazonia, they still take those vehicles, they sit inside in the safety, then they think that they can move around. So their restoration fighters for Ambazonia are using these homemade bombs to explode those devices. They explode the devices, and when they explode, the armored cars are damaged completely. Sometimes you don't even pick any pieces, any remains. Then now the army of Biya has funerals, secret funerals. They don't want to make them public because this would demoralize the other guys in the army. But the Ambazonia revolution is ongoing. It's true people like Ayabacho have been locked up, but that is not stopping the revolution. Seseku Ayoktabe has been locked up, it's not stopping the revolution. We told you this before. A revolution is in the mind of the people. It's a spirit. You can kill the messenger, the revolution lives on, which is the disappointment of La République du Cameroun. They've tried to maim and kill a lot of the people, but a revolution is a spirit, just like the American Revolution. It's a spirit. You cannot kill that spirit. The spirit is indomitable. The spirit is divine. And that's what people need to learn. I had learned this lesson from other revolutions, so like the American War of Independence. The British were very powerful, but Americans finally became victorious. So whenever you see Ambazonia, don't think, oh, what can they do? They are still fighting. Biya is going to go out, and the fighting lives on. Next, we'll take you to Mali. In Mali, Assimi Goïta has declared himself a five-year term president. So all political parties have been banned. We told you this in the past. But the gold mining continues. The jihadists are there for the gold. So Assimi Goïta too needs the gold to run the country. So what is really happening is the blood gold. That's the metaphor. The blood gold is creating havoc in Africa, in Mali, for example. So Assimi Goïta is the guy in charge of the junta what Malians have to deal with for a while. Okay? Then Nigeria. Well, in Nigeria, most people are looking at 2027 when the next presidential election is going to take place. There are many stories, and most of these stories are looking at the formation of a new coalition between Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar. Peter Obi used to be the leader of the Labour Party. Then Atiku Abubakar used to be the vice president under President Olusegun Obasanjo. Atiku is a rich guy who has a custom background. We hear he's very corrupt, and the people know that, and that's why they don't like him that much. But during the last election, he garnered a lot of votes. It was not enough to make him victorious. So he is thinking that if he can team up with Peter Obi, who is a young and popular former governor, this may take him to the top, and he may be able to defeat Bola Tinubu come 2027. But Bola Tinubu is a master planner, so he too is not sleeping. Some people are not confident that the new coalition can topple Atiku Abubakar. So it remains to be seen. So you are the people, you are Nigerians, you're on the ground. What do you think? Share ideas with us. Do you think the new coalition between Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar can unseat the tough guy Bola Tinubu? This week, we understand that Bola Tinubu is in Brazil. He's attending the BRICS summit. BRICS is the counterpoint against the US dollar. You have Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So the acronym, these countries make up the BRICS zone. So they are trying to offer an alternative to the US dollar in terms of marketing. But are they going to succeed? Well, their numbers are growing slowly, but the Western alliance is still bigger. And that's the truth. So the dollar is still dominating. But we think in the dream of a multipolar world, we like to see other forces emerge. And we see the meeting in Brazil as a good thing. Bola Tinubu is there. I'm sure he's trying to get some money from investors. And that's why he's there. Then what about South Africa? In South Africa, I think the good story this week is the story of Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe used to be a tennis superstar, an African American. You know, during the apartheid days, a black person was not supposed to play in South Africa. But under a lot of pressure, South Africa was supposed to relent so that Arthur Ashe can play in that country. Interestingly, Arthur Ashe won the Wimbledon against Comoros, who was the champion. So the black guy defeats a white guy. So this was big time news. And this is what made Arthur Ashe the darling of the whole world. Blacks loved him until he died of a blood transfusion. He was an icon of freedom and liberation. People like Harry Belafonte were always standing shoulder to shoulder with him. So they love his politics. He himself did not want to be remembered as a great tennis player. He wanted to be remembered as a liberator of African people. And we think, we love his memory. After 50 years of Wimbledon, we still think South Africa is celebrating this champion of black liberation. We salute Arthur Ashe. So if you don't know about Arthur Ashe, check him out on social media. This guy did a lot for black liberation. Even in Cameroon, when you look at a popular tennis player like Yannick Noah, Arthur Ashe was his mentor, okay? Then finally, we take you to South Sudan. Donald Trump just succeeded in deporting a lot of immigrants to South Sudan. Interestingly, these 8 guys are not Africans. So why is South Sudan accepting immigrants from America who are not from South Sudan? That's why I tell you that some African presidents are stupid. Why are they accepting? Their countries have refused to accept them. But South Sudan is accepting these people. Why? Because the South Sudan economy is in shambles. Silvaki needs money to run his country. That's basically what is happening. So after you've listened to us, we think what we can really do now is let's look at the American War of Independence. What can we do to be independent? We can imitate. I believe in the modeling, success modeling. If somebody is doing something well, I like to copy, do exactly what they are doing, learn from their experience, and do the same thing myself, which is what we need to do. So instead of complaining every day that, oh, Donald Trump is deporting us to Africa, he doesn't want us to come to America, let us make plans to start building the Garden of Eden in Africa. Africa has a lot of resources. Let's topple these stupid leaders and make way for new leadership so that they can focus on the building of the new Africa. Because with a new Africa, the youth will not be complaining about unemployment. The youth will be living their dreams. Then we'll have time to build our nation. China has just done this in front of our eyes. I remember during the early 70s, China was not really a great country. But look at, it took them some time, they've built, and now everybody is talking about the Chinese miracle. Similarly, people have been talking about the Japanese miracle. These are all countries that were suffering, were weak during the early 1960s when most African countries became independent. But look at where those countries are today. They are doing very, very well. What about African countries? We are still stuck in the past because we have stupid leaders. Okay? So get rid of these stupid leaders and create a new crop of leaders. That's the dream of the youth. That's the aspiration of the African youth. And it is happening. Even though we don't support authoritarianism or dictatorship, the coups have brought in new people. If we were just sitting and waiting for some of these guys who are colonial stooges, nothing will happen. No change will take place. Now, because of the coup d'etats, the people are seeing that the young people are angry. The young people of Africa are angry. They want change. They want change now, not tomorrow. Coup d'etats may not be good, but they are not isolated incidents. There is method in the madness. So stop complaining about coup d'etats. When you make freedom impossible, then coup d'etats become the only vehicle that people have to become free. You may call it a knee-jerk reaction, but it is happening so often. In Gabon, for example, what is happening? Brice Oligui Nguema has formed his party of builders, and he's running with it. He's playing games, he's dancing. His wildest dreams have come true. He has kicked out the Gabon big-time family of Bongo. They are now in Angola. Brice Oligui is running the country by himself. All the wealth now is his. So why is he not going to be happy? Why should he not be dancing? He has the right to dance because he owns the country now. So let us focus to build the new Africa. The challenge is there. Let us not just sit and complain about Donald Trump kicking us out of America, preventing us from entering America. Let us make Africa great again. Africa has been great in the past, but Africa can be great again. The same way Trump is talking about making America great again, we can make Africa great again. Unlike America, we even have more resources, more natural resources. And we have the brains. Africans are very smart. So what is holding us back? The foolish politicians, which is why we get tired when you watch politicians in Africa. So we need those coup d'etats to sweep these politicians out because we don't have a choice. Because if democracy cannot work, then let dictatorship come in. That's what we have to tell you. And that's what is happening. The young people are disappointed, just like in the case of Nigeria. They are very disappointed with Bola Tinubu. But Bola Tinubu is using all the forces that he has to capture the state apparatus. So he's winning. Now with a new coalition, they may make a difference and maybe topple Bola Tinubu. But the sad thing is, the old people with their old politics is not going to develop Africa. The young people are the ones we need to take the helm so that they can change the country. If this can happen, then we can say there will be a new day in Africa. Then, as Voltaire says in Candide, il faut cultiver notre jardin. Let's build the Garden of Eden in Africa. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Do you need tax preparation services? We can help. Contact PJ Tax Service, America's only full-time income tax preparers. Like the good old doctor, we do not close our doors after April 15th. In fact, we stay open all year round in order to serve you. We are located at 11207A, Lockwood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20901. Make an appointment today with Prince Ojong, your tax expert. Call 240-350-1131 or visit us on the web at www.pjtaxservice.com.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.